Welcome to my channel. My name is Shoshana, and I give guidance through the spiritual awakening, emotional processes, and life changing events so that you can better understand what you're going through. And I want to talk a little bit about hearing your inner calling or listening to your intuition. And in order to do this, you have to be able to quiet your mind. So, for each and every one of us, we have our own individual voice inside, our own purpose, and um, what we are best at, what we were meant for, meaning to life. And there is an inner calling that will lead you to where you need to be. But in order to even be able to hear it, or to hear your intuition or what your inner voice is saying, you have to be able to quiet your mind. Your mind is like a chatterbox. It's always going. That is its function. And in today's society, not only have we been programmed generation after generation after generation to believe that our mind is who we are, and we go to school to program our mind to believe certain beliefs that are societal, right? That consensuses that aren't always, mostly not accurate, or they serve an agenda, and we are programmed to believe this is absolute and as true from before we have our own personal independent capabilities or life experience in order to form thoughts of our own or belief systems of our own. And so we were programmed with all of this garbage and automatic programming that is running our life, and a lot of it is contradictory. So a lot of times we're grasping outside of ourselves on things that contradict each other and what is true. And so we are left in a place where we don't fully trust ourselves because we were taught out of listening to our intuition, to ourselves. We were taught that this external thing, this is how you have to try to be, and it doesn't align with who I am really inside. So I'm always trying to fake it, or always trying to put masks on to kind of sculpt myself into what society has taught me is the norm. And because it's not me, it's like I'm always putting on a face, or I am ashamed of who I truly am underneath. That was a side note. But we have to be able to quiet our minds in order to be able to hear what our inner voice or our inner calling. And in order to quiet our minds, it's we have these constant thoughts and life pressure, and we have to make a living, and the noise and the news, and today in today's society, there's so much external noise, even just the cars and airplanes and the constant pressure. And especially if we live in a big city, then there's all the noise of the big city, and it's like a big machine that is roaring in the background, causing this constant noise. Well, I'm supposed to be this way. No, I'm supposed to be that way. Wait a minute, I'm supposed to find myself. And even your spiritual work starts becoming work, and it starts becoming as something that you're supposed to be doing, and adding pressure to the pressure that you're already feeling. And so we're living like in this pressure cooker, and our thoughts are constantly running. And we don't have that quiet or that serenity that is needed in order to, because when does our higher self start leading us? Where we leave space. If we're already in motion and already in action, there is no place in there for our higher selves to lead us. And when you are in touch with your higher self, it comes in this sweet, fine, beautiful tone, but it is so delicate that gross behaviors will will suffocate. At some point, your inner calling comes so strong that you cannot deny it anymore. It's underneath, and and everything outside of you doesn't give you that satisfaction that you're following your calling or doing what you truly want or are aligned with will the satisfaction that it will give you. And so how do we quiet our mind? It's like you could liken today's world as if you go into a room that is full of people and full of distractions and full of all sorts of things that are going on and constant noise where you can't even hear your own thoughts, and everything is trying to pull your attention, everything all at once, and you're being drawn in so many different directions at once that you don't even know who you are anymore. You can't find the inner serenity that of the just being for a minute. And it's like a chatterbox. And in order to quiet your mind, there's different ways to go at it. So you have to try to find space and leave space in your mind. And you can do this through meditation. If you when you meditate, and in the beginning I've heard so many people say, well, I can't meditate, there's so much, my mind keeps going, I can't meditate, I can't find the quiet. But even when you sit and your mind keeps going, your mind is doing its function. And after a while, it will start slowing down. And your mind is going to go into thoughts. Don't beat yourself up over it. You just keep bringing it back every time that you can. You just quiet your mind. And what we're looking for are spaces in between the thoughts. And you'll slowly start finding spaces in between the thoughts. And when you find those spaces, that's where your higher self has room to come in. That's where God comes in. That's where your connection to the all is, in those empty spaces that you leave. For anything to exist, there has to be contrast. So even in the words that I speak, there are blank spaces in between the sounds. Otherwise, the words could not exist. If all of the sounds were bunched together in one, there would not be, you could not understand the words. There have to be those quiet pauses in between the different syllables, in between the different noises that come out of my mouth as language. And in that space creates the contrast, which creates existence. Without it, it could not exist. And so what we're looking for are the spaces in between the thoughts. We're looking to create those spaces in between the thoughts, and then you slowly quiet your mind. Also, with like things like television, take television out. That is unnecessary noise. Listening to news, years ago I quit watching news, and I still get the news. I still get it, but I get it as it is relevant to me. I get it as it comes to me. I trust that whatever is relevant in my direct surroundings in my life. Think 2,000 years ago, people didn't know, say where I'm sitting now, I didn't know what was going on in China. Our human function, we're so much in our mind and in things, external noise that is not relevant to our own existence. And you could say, oh, well, that's just a cop out. That's sticking your head in the sand. But I don't see it that way. I see it as slowing my own life down. I still know what's going on around the world, but I know what's going on in a more vague, outlined kind of way, because the news does get to me. But it gets to me as a way of somebody saying something or in passing. It's not me sitting and giving all of my attention to something that is absolutely irrelevant. And you could say it is relevant. I understand. We're all on one planet. I understand this. But it is something that is irrelevant right now to my life experience. I am at the center of my universe. And if I want to rise into living in a place that is not focusing on the bad in the world. And if everybody did this, focused only on the good, only good would be able to show up. And so I'm holding a vibration in the world. And that is what my purpose is, to hold that higher vibration. And if I sink down into all of the atrocities, then I will not hold that vibration for others to come to. And so I see as part of my own purpose in the world is to hold the vibration and see in fact that we are living in heaven on earth. And if I am sinking into all those lower vibrational places, there are plenty of people in those places. I don't need to be there as well. There's so many people doing that work that I find that the more important place for me to be, and this is listening to my own inner calling, my own inner self, is letting go of all that noise that is not relevant to me in my life and holding that higher vibration, so that is, because that is more scarce in the world. That is the more scarce, it is more scarce. And so if I can hold that 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 point of existence, that perspective that sees the magnificence in the flowers and in the bees and in life itself, and be able to shine that outwardly, then I'm doing much more for the world than if I was sitting down in the atrocities that are happening across the globe. And so I see that as my part. And I enjoy it. I enjoy that part. Um, so really, to be able to listen to hear your inner calling, you have to quiet the external noise as much as possible. You can't expect to hear your inner quiet when you're in a room full of people that are constant chattering and pulling your attention in all the different directions. And this means that in your life, if you have people that are toxic, that you are in constant connection with, and every time you meet with them, they bring you down. This could be in a personal relationship. You need to reassess that relationship, because maybe that relationship is not allowing you to be in a place of quiet to where you can even figure out who you are, what your inner self really is yearning for, because you have a bombardment from the outside that is not allowing you to have that quiet. So you need to really assess. And in order to assess, you need quiet. It's kind of like a paradox of sorts, but it's also a shift, and it also happens gradually. And if you are even with me in this and you are listening to this video, then you are already well along your way and your path, and you can trust that once you're on this path, you're going. Let me say, I wrote down a few things here, and it looks like I really quite covered it all. I feel like this video is a little bit sloppy. I was a little bit all over the place, but the point is so important on quieting your mind and how to quiet your mind, and that you need to quiet your mind in order to hear your inner calling. Your inner calling will surface once all that noise is removed. So when you get all the chatter out of your mind and all of the constant shaking, which you can do through meditation and getting out into nature, and through doing things that you enjoy, that you get lost in, like if you like painting, paint. That'll bring you into the now. It'll allow your mind the space in between, for your natural nature to rise to the surface. So it's like if you have a bunch of clutter on the surface, your natural self can't rise. You have to remove that clutter so that you will and once you remove the noise, you can trust that whatever needs to surface will come to the surface. And if you start removing some of the noise and more noise comes up, internal noise from the past, that just means that you have to process that too and get that also out of the way before what is, it's like what wants to come up from your inner core has to first bring everything that is obscuring it from coming up out of the way. So all the traumas will come up and all of the junk of the past and all of your current junk, and you're going to have to process all of this. It's a ride. It's a ride. You go through yourself completely, but you learn yourself completely, intimately. You find your strengths and your power. You deal with your old traumas and release them. This is such a powerful journey. So I am sending you guys so much love and strength for your journey. And if you would like to meet with me and get some perspective on your own individual journey, my contact information is below in my website, and I would be happy to work with you. Thank you for watching.